The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this or any broadcast belong solely to our guests or our hosts. These broadcasts do not represent or reflect the views of their employers, sponsors, or affiliated organizations.
With so much content wheezing around out there, there's only one storytelling platform that helps you keep calm and stay informed and inspired. Flipboard. Flipboard curates the world's stories so you can be smarter in your work, life, and play. Choose from thousands of topics to personalize Flipboard and get the best stories from the best publishers and experts delivered to you 24/7. Get started now at flipboard.com.
Welcome to the Flipboard EDU Podcast with your host, William Jeffrey, where we collaborate, communicate, and educate with the greatest educators in the world on Flipboard. Let's start the show.
What's up, Flipboard fam? This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey, and I have two amazing and outstanding co-hosts for this episode. I would like to introduce you to the incomparable Stacie Boudrie, a curriculum technology coordinator with 20 years of experience in education, and Texas Southern University Hall of Famer, Dr. Michael Milstead. In this episode, we will dialogue about the increased awareness and need for 21st century skills in the COVID-19 era. Drawing from the amazing book written by Dr. Ken Robinson and Lou Aronica, Creative Schools, the Grassroots Revolution That's Transforming Education, we will highlight 4 C's in this episode, substituting creativity for curiosity, which they mentioned in their book back in 2015, and how they are relevant to us today in 2020. So let's collaborate, communicate, and educate with the best educators in the world on Flipboard EDU Podcast.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this adventure.
Stacie, help the Flipboard fam understand, who are you?
Well, I'm a mix of everything, really. As my profession, I am an instructional technology coordinator, and I focus on technology integration for a small district of about 2,000 students. And I jumped right in with this full time with us going through COVID-19 and getting everybody on board. I'm hoping in the end that I'll have more technology integration than I'll know what to do with. Prior to that, I worked in a larger district and I was a digital learning specialist for about 15 years. And then before that, I started my career as a classroom teacher. My little personal information about myself is we live in the country and I'm enjoying extra time on our land and enjoying all of our new spring animals and garden that's arriving.
You're a wonderful educational technologist with the green thumb and who also knows how to ride horses and rodeos. Also, I have here my mentors, really good friends, just an amazing person, Dr. Michael Milstead. Dr. Milstead, welcome to the show.
Good evening, Will, and good evening to our Flipboard fans. Flipboard, I am very honored to be here with you tonight. I hope that all of you are faring well during this COVID-19 pandemic. I hope that you and your families are all doing well.
Dr. Milstead, let's get a little information on you. Who is Dr. Michael Milstead?
You know, I wake up every morning asking myself that same question, Will, but I'm going to try to put it in some perspective. I am an educator. I've been in education for over 30 years. I have over 24 years as an education administrator. I've been a high school principal, a middle school principal, and elementary principal. Was also a classroom teacher for numerous years. I've taught Houston Community College. Yeah. I've also taught teacher certification classes with Texas Education Agency. Mm-hmm. Most recently, I was inducted into Texas Southern University College of Education Hall of Fame, which I'm very proud of. Mm-hmm. I'm a graduate of Texas Southern University, Prairie View A&M University. Mm-hmm. I've attended Harvard University, and also I'm a graduate of the University of Houston.
Yes. So I could not find 2 more qualified people to be co-host / guest with me on this podcast. So I'm just going to run our Flipboard fam through the discussion points that we're going to have tonight. Tonight, we're going to be looking at the increased awareness around 21st century skills in education. Specifically, we're talking about a book that was written by Sir Ken Robinson back in 2015. And the book was entitled Creative Schools. Stacie and Dr. Milstead are going to just help us hash out some things that we just want to make sure that our teachers are able to just implement with fidelity in this new situation, this COVID-19 situation. Although COVID-19 is new for the entire nation and the world, good skills as a teacher, that's not new, right? You want to say something about that, Stacie?
No, you're correct. It's so important that we provide and teachers want to continue to grow with their doing and to build on what they've already, you go through college and you think, okay, I'm ready for this full-time job. And then you jump into teaching and you think, wow, I have a whole new world to learn still.
And Dr. Milstead, with your experience, with Dr. Ken Robinson, when he talked about those 8 C's that teachers need. Right. So specifically, I just want to ask you about criticism. That was one of the C's that he had.
Well, prior to the show, Stacie and I kind of talked about the whole concept of criticism as it relates to instruction and pedagogy. And it's one of those characteristics that I think that's internal. I think things that is aligned with criticism is the ability to be able to take constructive feedback and grow from it. Yeah. And I think that, if you have the maturity as a teacher to want to grow, you want to self-reflect, and you want to do what's in the best interest of kids, you don't take criticism personally. You take it as an opportunity to grow and go further and to extend that to your students.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Stacie, I don't know how we fell on this one. And I've seen this in you, and you hold everybody's feet to the fire, but I've seen you working in compassion. Shed light on what that would mean to you.
I do think compassion is very important. I think it's one of the first things that you should think about when you're starting to build relationships, whether it's with teachers or students. It doesn't matter. It all functions the same. And kind of reflecting back on the criticism is you got to be, like Dr. Milstead was saying, you got to be mature enough to hear and accept the criticism. But I also think that you have to be good at giving criticism. And that's where the compassion comes in. If you can't do it in a kind manner and know, I'm trying to help you and grow you, and it's okay if you don't know these skills or you don't have these skills. That's to me just so important that we have that compassion so that we can help build and grow our leaders and our students as well.
And like I said, I've seen you functioning in that all the while. I remember looking at my man over here, Dr. Milstead, and some times where my composure was all over my face. And I remember being brought to the side because Stacie, I'm emotional. You can see it written all over.
I am
face.
Too. Yeah.
But, hey, this man right here is smooth as 2 boiled eggs. Talk to us about composure, sir.
Well, and you and I have had this conversation quite a few times, Will. My thing is never let them see you sweat. Yeah. And the other is sometimes, you just got to fake it till you make it. Yeah. Unfortunately, those are not things that I think that professionalism build off of, but in some instances, you just got to use those. So, your composure is so important, particularly when you're in a leadership capacity, because people are always watching the leader and they feed off the leader. In the schools that I have led, I know there are times the situations have occurred, man, sometimes I'll be out of my mind. What am I going to do? But I never leave my office with that type of look of doubt, uncertainty on my face. I try to always just try to keep my composure. I would even tell my principals in a lot of times also, we may disagree on a lot of things, but when we leave out of this office, we gonna walk out and we gonna look like we one united front. Yeah. So composure is particularly, I think, important when you're leading a school or you're leading a classroom, even for teachers. Things come up. I know teachers right now in this COVID-19 epidemic and principals, their thing with online instruction, because all this is new. But if you would look at a lot of schools, a lot of teachers and principals at this time, a lot of them look like they really got it down pat, man. They understand what they're doing. So
I was going to say, I have some teachers in my mind right now where a month ago, I could barely get them to use the technology in the classroom, and they were just starting to just use Google Classroom as a resource. And now this teacher is just running with it. And I'm just so proud of him. And he's had 1,000 questions, but it's okay. I just keep answering every single one because I see growth happening. And yeah, you're right. They're the leader of the classroom. And if they got it under control, or appear to be, then the students are going to follow that suit.
Hey, Stacie, where do you think citizenship falls in our C's that we just mentioned?
That's a hard one. Looking at that one, and I'm like, I guess it's really just how you become a unity within, whether it's your classroom or your leadership. Like Dr. Milstead was saying is, hey, when we leave here, we're together, we're working together. We're in the end result's going to be the same, whether we have the same views while we're heading in that direction.
What brings to my mind is digital citizenship at this particular point is important for teachers who are now online with students. And there was always an underlying issue with people while they're on campus in front of students. Mm-hmm. And students have to be good citizens online. Teachers have to be good citizens online. Principals have to be good citizens online. Right. And so we all have to work together. I look at that as the ability to just form a society, whether you're in face-to-face or online.
Quick story. In each school that I've led, I have always looked at myself as the mayor of a small town. And my school was that town, and I was leading citizens. Yeah. And I tried to lead by example because I wanted to be the type of citizen to display that I wanted my students to be, and also my teachers to be. So I tried to lead by example. So I think in leading by example as a leader, that's what I tried to do. I don't know why I told that story. But
that has a really good point, because if you think about it, it has to lead back to the previous three, and especially the composure one. When you talk about leading, being a principal is like being a mayor, and you're leading people, you have to have that composure so that they have that faith in you and that trust in you. But also there's leaders who may not lead in the best way. They're more of a boss than a leader. And so I feel like especially composure follows along with that citizenship.
Welcome to Flip Tips. Today's Flip Tip is how to get started with Flipboard. Very simple. I want to thank Jeanette Spire and Terry Porter for coming up with our Flip Tips for today. The first thing you want to do is download the app for your Android or iOS device. The second thing you want to do is you want to create an account. Make sure you add a picture and complete your bio. Third thing you want to do is you want to follow topics. There are at least 34,000 topics that you can follow. Next thing you want to do is build your magazine. Navigate to the bottom of your profile icon and then select the collection options. Give your magazine a title and you've built your first magazine. I want to give a huge shout out for Terry Porter and Jeanette Spire on giving us today's Flip Tips.
Flipboard EDU Podcast is a great resource for teachers, students, and administrators.
It is now time for magazine shoutouts. I'd like to shout out some of the well-curated magazines that give us a multifaceted view of education. And check out these magazines and their curators. First magazine I'd like to talk about is Education, Technology, and Mindfulness. That's curated by Sean Fetterbush. The next magazine is 21st Century Education, curated by Michelle Moorcroft and Peter Mello. Last but not least, we have the ABCs of Awesome Homeschool Learning, curated by Awesomeism's mom and Mark Simpson. Thank you all for curating excellent content that enhances our community. Be sure to add these magazines to your magazine and follow their curators. Guys, keep up the great work. Today we talked about the 4 C's of the 8 C's listed in Creative Schools by Sir Ken Robinson and Lou Aronica. Join us next week as we continue the conversation discussing creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. If you don't already own the book Creative Schools, The Grassroots Revolution That's Transforming Education, I highly recommend that you add it to your library and curate topics to share with your colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and share our episodes in your Flipboard magazine, or follow our magazine and flip our episodes into your own curated magazine. Stay safe, Flipboard family. Wash those hands, and in the immortal words of Hall of Fame basketball coach Ronnie Courtney, together we can.
Subscribe to our Flipboard EDU Podcast magazine.